How's it going, everybody? This is Dailies to Download. My name is Chad. With me is Erik. We are bringing you a little bit of a mini episode this week. We're going to cover a topic that was in the news about 10 days ago or so. I think it was initially announced. So it's not new news, but since then, it's kind of developed a little bit of a stir. I guess you could call it a stir. I don't know if we'd call it controversy, maybe a stir. But with the announcement that Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem would be starring as Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz in an upcoming movie called Meet the Ricardos. And I believe Aaron Sorkin has signed on to direct it for Amazon Studios. And, it's like any other casting news. You hear casting news all the time. But for whatever reason, this one seems to have developed a little bit of a, angry crowd of people who I guess feel that the casting of Nicole Kidman in the Lucille Ball role, was maybe not the right choice. And I have to say, I was confused when I started to hear some of this and read it. It's like we were talking before we got on here. A lot of it is just social media people being outspoken, which they have every right to do. But I want to say that when I saw that it was Javier Bardem and Nicole Kidman and Aaron Sorkin, the first thought that popped into my head was they're going for awards here. Like that has to be the goal. Now, whether or not it hits there or gets to that, we don't know. But with that type of casting, my guess is that that's what they're aiming for, that this isn't going to be a nonstop comedy. And I think a lot of people were confused in that way too, which their daughter recently came out and addressed that she defended Nicole Kidman's casting and basically said the voting is over now, or something to that effect was her quote. But this is going to be more about their life off screen and less a remake of the show. And to be honest, I don't know why anybody would want to see that. And to be Erik, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, once I heard the news, I kind of go like hot and cold on Aaron Sorkin as because he's writing it too, and I feel like this is a case where for Aaron Sorkin that kind of matters more, right? Like it'd be really interesting if Aaron Sorkin directed a non-Aaron Sorkin written movie, because I think with that comes it's he's has a great cachet.
Oh, you mean a movie that he didn't write?
Yeah. Yeah,
Efforts.
it's a weird experiment. I think David Mamet has done it as well, which is kind of weird because like, but we know you as your brand is like that kind of dialogue, right? And that's a big
Right.
Sorkin, the walk and talk kind of thing.
Right.
So once I started reading a little bit more about this upcoming project, it seems cool in the sense that I believe it takes place. It's going to take place during 1 week of a taping of a I Love Lucy episode from like
Right.
the table read through the production of an
Right, which
episode.
sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, and I kind of like that sort of, and I'm sure there'll be tension because something must happen that week on set and blah blah blah, and like if it has the kind of feeling that like Steve Jobs, the one that Sorkin wrote that Danny Boyle directed, where it was like those 3 product launches, and it was like, oh,
Right.
almost like in real time, like we got to get ready, we got to open up the doors, blah blah blah, and all these like conflicts are happening. If it's something like that, I was like, okay, I could be intrigued by that. I think having the name Ricardo's in the title is, I think, what also makes people feel that this is a I Love Lucy, more about the production of an
Right.
episode with the actual people as opposed to it, like we said, being a remake of some kind of an I Love Lucy thing. I'm sure there will be famous scenes recreated
No doubt.
painstakingly, but it would seem to be about some kind of drama of which they're just vaguely alluding to in like the release. So that's what seems fine. But as Aaron Sorkin, yeah, I kind of go mixed on depending on I prefer it like when he has like a David Fincher directing. I like
Mm.
have you seen the Trial of Chicago 7?
I did, and I had also seen the Chicago 7 documentary that was made,
Yeah, yeah,
several years back that used a lot of CGI animation,
yeah.
and that was a good documentary. And this movie had a lot of points that I liked about it as well. Um, but I would tend to agree with you in that it's certainly he's stronger when he's writing and somebody else is directing.
Yeah.
Now, who knows how if he'll improve as a director, but he certainly had a lot of star power in Trial of the Chicago 7.
Yeah, and
So,
he's like the courtroom writer. Few Good
right.
Men, Onward, and then he had that show. What was it? Studio 60 on the
Six,
Sunset Strip.
yeah, which was not good, but yes.
Okay, but that's I just think of that as being this I Love Lucy thing where okay, sound stage is on a TV set. I never saw the show, so I'm just riffing off
Right.
of what I
Yeah,
assume.
now that you mention it, so this is gonna be more in his comfort zone than maybe I initially was thinking in my head.
Yeah, it's like you either put him in the White House or on a TV production or in a courtroom. It's like that's the Aaron Sorkin. I did not like the Molly's Game. I'm not a big fan of that one.
Oh, see, I have that digitally. I haven't watched it yet. Um,
Yeah,
but he's certainly not a actor's director. And when you look at this casting, I mean, I don't think he'll have to do a whole lot with making sure they pump out a good performance. And that was the thing that confused me the most with people kind of disagreeing about her as a cast member. People were talking about Deborah Messing looked more like Lucille Ball because I guess in Will and Grace they did a I Love Lucy episode. I have not watched that show, but I know that they did an episode to that effect. And yeah, she looks a lot like Lucille Ball, but that's not what makes a movie good. And
yeah,
like I was thinking to myself, which is this is a very random reference. There are others, I'm sure, but like Secret Honor was a movie with what's his name, Philip Baker Hall, and he didn't look like Richard Nixon.
yeah,
He was portraying Richard Nixon. He didn't look like him, but
yeah,
that didn't stop his performance from being great. And
yeah.
I
And
think,
yeah,
I
I
think,
mean,
yeah, I think Nicole Kidman looks enough like Lucille Ball that she's going to knock it out of the park. And that's the thing that separates. Not to take anything away from Deborah Messing or, my wife mentioned Emma Stone having red hair and being, more fun, like having a comedic sensibility. I think that simply put, Nicole Kidman is on a different level
mhm.
than those two specifically. I,
Yeah,
I think that
yeah,
she's going to bring a level, like kind of a level to the performance that other actresses wouldn't be able to. But what do you think?
yeah. And I had read that initially there was talks of having Kate Blanchett in the
Wow.
role, and it's like they went from one Australian to another, like yeah, like but like again, just like in the same kind of strong actresses that look a certain way, kind of have similar features in some way.
Somebody was like, "What about an American?" No, 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 no. We got to have an
Yeah,
Australian.
they're like now we go to Nicole Kidman, then we go to Naomi Watts, and then we go to Paul Hogan, and we just keep going down the list.
Yeah,
We're I don't yeah the whole look like thing I feel like is always obsessed over like too much, and like
yeah, and
it doesn't
that's
really.
another talking point I was going to bring up just to kind of capitalize on what you're going to say. Like, I don't understand the necessary argument of like fans wanting people to look exactly like the person above kind of capturing that person's essence. Not to sound pretentious, but that's what it's about. Now if they look similar, great, but that's not all there is to it to me.
Yeah. And same with the voice. However, like you mentioned Nixon, I feel like Nixon would be one of the most famous that have had the widest range of interpretations.
Right.
And some go for a more impersonation, some abandon that completely and just like you said, kind of go for the overall mood and aura of the person, whatever that
Right.
means to them, as anything like as we'll start to see um I don't know that as we will get more like Trump things, whatever. Like that's going to be a difficult thing to. We got one
Yeah.
TV movie, the Showtime thing with Jeff Daniels and Brendan Gleeson, um, James Comey and Donald Trump. And it's weird because we're too close to it right now. But again, like it's going to be the same sort of thing where it's almost like an impersonation or not. And hopefully they don't do that. And
Right.
Javier Bardem doesn't look anything like Desi Arnaz,
No.
you know.
Yeah, that
They
nobody's
both,
talked about that. That's what's
yeah,
funny to me.
neither would have trouble, you know, getting a date or whatever. But like they don't look anything alike. I mean,
Right.
I think what's refreshing about this kind of casting controversy or whatever is that I'm like, oh no, they mixed like, um, it might have been a question of representation with nationalities and things like that. But then it wasn't that, because I'm like, okay, no, this all seems to match, and so it's a workout.
Right.
But yeah, Javier Bardem doesn't look anything like, good luck trying to make him look like Desi Arnaz. You'd have to really change
Especially
all
like the
the
photos that people have been posting in their news bits for this news, like this casting news. You see Javier Bardem with a beard and stuff, and obviously we've seen plenty of movies with him without the beard. But
Yeah,
but yeah, you're right. I mean, he doesn't really look like him. I'm sure he'll be able to, knock it out of the park in terms
yeah,
of
yeah.
giving a good performance. But I always found like talk like this interesting, that people tend to obsess over. Oh well, that person doesn't look necessary. I mean, Hollywood makeup artists, CGI, like they can do amazing things,
Yeah.
to get people more into a role. And obviously that's the job of the actor. They are supposed to kind of immerse themselves into a role in a certain way, or depending on the director, maybe the director doesn't care about that. Maybe they just want to capture a mood or a time and place, and that's all. They don't necessarily want somebody to, like, I know there's movies, I wish I could think of them off the top of my head, where somebody would portray somebody else and they wouldn't really have the accent.
Hmm.
They wouldn't even be trying for the accent, so they were just trying to portray that person but not necessarily try to impersonate. And that's what you were saying with finding the line between a performance and a mimic or an impersonation. And I certainly feel like the people they got to play these roles will know that difference.
Yeah, and I also don't think, like, yeah, like we said, it shouldn't really necessarily matter so much. And it's not the first time Nicole Kidman. It's a different kind of project, but Nicole Kidman has taken over a hit 50s, 60s TV show. Remember the Bewitched? Now that was in the world of Bewitched. It was not about. I'm blanking on that actress's name now.
Right, which is why you wouldn't want to see
Yeah.
that with I Love Lucy.
Yeah,
You-
no,
you-
no, absolutely. Yeah, because we saw Bewitched. We saw what could happen on the
right.
dangers of going that route. Yeah, yeah.
You
That
can't,
would be
like,
bad.
I can't
Yeah.
even imagine like the hate for them to try and remake some of those classic I Love Lucy scenes, which I have friends that still really treasure that show. So I
Yeah.
can't, like, obviously they don't want to go that route. So certainly they're going to probably recreate some of those famous scenes like in flashbacks or memories or whatever, what have you. But this is
Yeah.
going to be more, like you said, it's going to be more about behind the scenes, whatever tension or drama is going on. And
Oh my
I
god,
mean,
I could just imagine, like, the Vita Vita Benjamin girl when she keeps drinking the cough syrup and getting drunker and drunker, and but then like Lucille Ball goes back to her green room, is like drinking a flask or something. Like if they start adding like these extra pathos of like Lucy, come on, you're on set, you're already 2 hours behind schedule, all that kind of like
right.
behind the scenes kind of drama, like a Birdman or something like that.
Right.
I'm like, okay, hopefully it doesn't go too heavy on the extremes, and also having their daughter um, sign off on it, like we've talked about in the past too. Like that could be
Right.
good, that could be bad. Like who knows?
Yeah,
Sometimes.
and I was thinking about that. In this case, because it's about both of her parents, I assume that it it's going to be hard for them to paint it in a positive light, because whatever drama occurred, I assume is only known to people that are really passionate hardcore fans and
Yeah.
have maybe read about it or know about it some other way. So I assume this is going to be a story that not many people know. And based on that, I would think because the daughter's involved, it would be pretty honest, at least. So,
Yeah, and I'm sure Lucille Ball's written like a autobiography. I don't know that personally, but I would just imagine that she would be
right.
one of the most sought after to, like, discuss her life. And there was when this was announced, like I only discovered that there was like a TV movie in 1991 called Lucy and Desi before the laughter, which
Oh, wow.
supposedly is supposedly very, very bad. Obviously, these
What a
TV
horrible
movie.
title that is.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, TV movies in the early '90s were that kind of titles.
Well, you know
Yeah,
me, I'm gonna have to go seek that out along with the Jennifer Love Hewitt Audrey Hepburn. That
Yeah,
I
exactly.
haven't watched that yet either. But
Yeah, well, that one I think is like 4 hours. This Lucy and Desi Before the Laughter, I think, is like 90 minutes.
okay,
And it's Frances Fisher, yes, who was in Titanic. She's Unforgiven, so she's Lucy. And anyway, I mean, so there are those kind of like really bad ones too. But yeah, I mean, I'll check it out. So it'll be an Amazon release, you said.
right.
So don't even need to go to a theater anymore, guys. This is the new
That's
reality. You can just watch it, however you want, and that would,
well, in
you know,
your neck of the woods, Eric. I'm sure they will release it in theaters at least for a little bit of time, maybe
we'll,
to.
we'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they said they're going to go into production like as soon as LA can, like, because LA is really hit hard now by
Right.
the pandemic. So I know like production had to stop again on everything.
Right.
But
Right. So
it
it'll
sounds
start
like they.
basically. We don't know when it'll start, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're planning stuff now. Like even like Scorsese with his new one, like he was doing like costume approvals and stuff like that through Zoom. But they're
Right.
they're planning on going in like February or March to start production on that new one. So not in LA though, it's like Oklahoma.
Right.
But we'll be seeing how quickly this one gets turned around. Yeah.
If something goes wrong with Scorsese's movie, I hope that he blames the Zoom calls. Like I
Yeah,
couldn't make
he's
the
like,
decisions.
they show up in like the wrong kind of thing. He's like, "Oh my God, this Thelma, why did you? Oh no, oh God, like, oh,
Look what happens when we're not together. I have to watch
yeah,
everything you do.
this is why I didn't want to do it this way. He's 78. He thought he could have 2 doses of the vaccine by now. He's still waiting. God damn it! Ah. Oh, but
Uh,
that I think that's crazy. I just thought of Pacino as Jimmy Hoffa. That's one that's nowhere near an impersonation.
right.
It's but it's
Yeah,
its
I
own
assume
thing.
because how many people I know my wife and I do this. Like when we watch a movie, especially if it's somebody that maybe we know who they are, but we haven't seen a lot of footage of that person, we'll go and we'll watch actual footage of that person. And we certainly did that, or at least I did that with Jimmy Hoffa. And it's like, oh, he really doesn't. No.
Nah, yeah, they gave him like the haircut, kind of the little thing. But even if you watch Jack Nicholson as Hoffa in that
Right,
the 1992 movie, he's doing more of that Chicago accent, and
right.
it's much more pronounced. But yeah, I mean, I think anything. Last year, I feel like we were talking about how Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers, that was a big one. That was
Right.
like, like, oh, how's that? How are they going to make him look? How are they going to? And they maybe put like some. I don't think they really altered anything about his face or anything. I don't think there was a
No,
lot. There was no real
I don't think so. I
prosthetic
mean,
or anything.
and
The
like
voice was different, but
to a certain extent with these people, and this is like a good way to kind of wrap this up, is that you some to some degree with some of these personalities and celebrities, you can't recreate them exactly. Like
yeah,
even if you find somebody that's a dead ringer, like you can't capture everything 100% perfect. And why would you want somebody to try that?
yeah,
They need to bring their own approach to the character, their own approach to whoever this person was, and do with it as they feel like. Some people are really method and will study the people for months on end. Other people will just kind of go into it and bring their abilities as they normally would. So
yeah, yeah. And I think there's a stigma to even using the word like impersonation, and things like that. Like I feel like that's reserved for like Saturday Night Live, and that's a parody,
right,
and that's broad and big, and it's
right.
lowbrow. It's not what we do when and I think that's also a little BS. Because I'm sure if we were to analyze the most recent like performances that have won Academy Awards, they're typically based on real people more
Right.
often than not. I
Yeah.
imagine. And that's because a lot of people do well, I know what so and so sounded and looked like, and
Right.
that kind of thing. So, and Nicole Kidman, I mean, being Virginia Woolf with
Right.
the fake nose, that was such a big thing, overblown, but with the prosthetic nose and all that stuff. Um, so I look forward to it based on this particular um, way that it sounds like they're going to be telling the story. I like
Right. Me
the
too.
behind the scenes drama stuff. Whether or not it's good or not, it'll always at least interest me. So
Absolutely.
check it out.
Yeah. So we will be back with you in 3 years when the movie maybe is able to come out.
Exactly. When they're all wearing the masks and hazmat suits, and you're gonna be like, this is not what it was like in 1958, you know. But you know what? Sorry, I just thought of. I will be very interested. This could how the movie could sink or swim with whoever plays the couple, the friends, the husband and wife,
Right.
their neighbor. I forgot Ethel and something, right? Because they, I feel like, have that guy had a very distinct look. Any actors that are vying to get an Oscar, Amy Adams, get in there,
Yeah.
get a part of it, get on that project. That could be your one. That could be the one.
Yeah,
you know,
now's your chance.
Yeah, exactly. So who's ever going to be a part of that needs to just sign off on it right now.
We'll know how serious they are when we hear about who else is going to be in it.
Yeah, it'll be like a 4-person cast. Michael Fassbender will be whoever directed those telecasts.
You're like, oh, come on, guys! I thought this was Shame too. No, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be the most serious cast ever.
It's all right. Well, we will see what happens when it comes out. Michael Fassbender, Amy Adams. You've heard it here first. So
sign up now. I mean, look,
right.
This is gold. This is awards gold.
So for Eric, my name is Chad, and we will see you next week.